that we perform. And then there is sadhya, which is the ultimate goal that we try to reach. And that ultimate goal, of course, it's Radha Krishna, but it's also to develop that pure love of God for Radha and Krishna, that Prema, which is our sadhya, the ultimate goal that we try to achieve, is to develop that pure love of Godhead. And so this is the last and final stage. Of course, even once one has attained Prema, there is also different stages of Prema. But that's not dealt with in the Madhurya Kadambini, and also we won't talk about it because it's very high level. But it is described just as is how you say melasse, like sugar is condensed and more condensed. So similarly, even that pure love of God is more and more condensed. So the last chapter in the book, which deals with Prema, has a title, "The Fulfillment of the Heart's Desire." And here it says, "The two unfolding leaves of sadhana on the desire creeper of bhakti were described before. Now, as hearing, chanting, and other devotional processes become very smooth and buttery, suddenly many shiny petals appear at every moment, clinging to the flower of bhav, known as anubhavs, symptoms of ecstasy. Shining brilliantly, the fully blossomed flower of bhava matures and brings forth the fruit of prema." So, in the whole book, the development of this stage was described as a creeper, the bhakti lata, the plant that grows. And here it's described how there suddenly appears this shiny petals, and finally blossoms the flower of bhava, and then which that flower, we heard about that yesterday, and that bhava matures into the fruit of prema, prema phala, which is the ultimate goal. And as with the previous stage, there is also this characteristic of pure devotional service described. The devotee relishes the nectar flowing from the fruit of prema in the form of concentrated bliss. Sandharananda, and the sublime nourishing potency of this nectar is its power to attract even Krishna, Shri Krishna Karshani. That's very astounding or amazing that when a devotee has developed this pure love of God, this devotion, or the bhakti of that devotee, is so powerful that even Krishna becomes extremely attracted to that. Needless to say, when the devotee begins to taste this nectar, he takes no heed of any obstacles. As a great demoniac warrior engrosses in battle, or a thief feverish for a priceless treasure loses all sense of direction, in the same way the devotee loses all sense of self. It's interesting, the analogy. One completely loses oneself in the sense that one completely becomes absorbed in that love, in that relationship to the Lord. And again, we have here the sixth characteristic of pure devotional service, as is described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And up to bhava, one has attained the first four. But then with prema comes these two others. The Sandharananda Visheshatma, that condensed bliss, or that, can't imagine what it means, but that unlimited bliss and satisfaction. And then the sixth one, Shri Krishna Karshini. And in the Nectar of Devotion, we find a beautiful description on this characteristic of pure devotional service, described there. Actually, in the first chapter, where these characteristics of pure devotional service are described. I'm sure you're familiar, especially here, where we take shelter at Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, this paragraph. Srila Rupa Goswami has stated that devotional service attracts even Krishna. Krishna attracts everyone, but devotional service attracts Krishna. The symbol of devotional service in the highest degree is Radharani. Krishna is called Madana Mohan, which means that he is so attractive that he can defeat the attraction of thousands of cupids. And that in itself is amazing, no? I mean, in this world, everyone is under the spell of Cupid. You know, the attraction which is there between male and female and amongst condition jivas, this attraction is very strong, and it's provoked or produced by Cupid. And we all have experienced this, what it means if you fall completely in love and you're so much attracted. It's a very strong energy, that attraction. So Cupid is super powerful, but Krishna is much more attractive. Krishna is so much more beautiful and so much more attractive that he defeats even thousands of such Cupids. And then Prabhupada says, but Radharani is still more attractive, for she can even attract Krishna. Therefore, devotees call her Madana Mohana Mohini, the attractor of Cupid. And it's not so hard to understand if you see how beautiful Srimati Radharani is here. I mean, Krishna is beautiful, but Radharani. And Krishna is also completely under the control of Srimati Radharani. And Prabhupada says further, to perform devotional service means to follow in the footsteps of Radharani. And devotees in Vrindavan put themselves under the care of Radharani in order to achieve perfection in their devotional service. In other words, devotional service is not an activity of the material world. It is directly under the control of Radharani. In Bhagavad Gita it is confirmed that Mahatmas, or great souls, are under the protection of Daivi Prakriti, the internal energy, Radharani. So being directly under the control of the internal potency of Krishna, devotional service attracts even Krishna himself. And that's very beautiful. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur made this statement that we shouldn't try to see Krishna, but we should act in such a way that Krishna wants to see us. It's a very well-known statement. And we can understand the principle of that, because if we actually take shelter and we become an instrument of that internal energy and actually really surrender, then we are directly guided by Srimati Radharani. And then Krishna becomes directly very much attracted to our devotional service, because it comes from that same potency. So that's the goal of life, to become an instrument and to be really in this service of Krishna, and then Krishna himself will become super attracted towards us. So that's the two characteristics which are there, this immense ananda and bliss, and the characteristic that Krishna himself becomes attracted. Then it's further described. The Lord then floods his devotees' senses with the unrivalable auspicious qualities springing from his own eternal being: beauty, fragrance, pleasant voice, tenderness, tastiness, generosity and compassion. The uncommon sweetness and ever-freshness of these qualities create an acute, ever-increasing longing in the heart as the devotee lovingly relishes them. To describe the vast ocean of transcendent bliss appearing at this time, the words of the poet are no better than a tiny lota. Lota, you all know, lota is this little water pot. Sadhus in India, basically the only thing they need is, they have their clothes, and they need a little lota, because you always need to drink and you always need to be able to wash your hand and in order to remain suchi. But otherwise you don't need much more, so they carry this lota with them. And here it says that, you can't describe what a devotee experiences on this level. And if you want, you can only do it with poetry. You can try to find some analogy to give an idea, but even this analogy they are just like compared to a little tiny lota which has a little water inside. And, I don't know, compared to an ocean or something. It's not very insignificant. Some meager example can be given. And then Srila Vishnu Thakur gives a few examples of what examples? Examples of what kind of intense bliss one experiences when one develops this pure love of God, and what a relief it is to finally attain the Lord. So here are some examples. Okay, what we have? A traveler in the desert who finally finds an oasis. A traveler on the desert path, scorched by the hot rays of the summer sun, somehow finds shelter under the cool shade of a vast banyan tree, densely tangled with branches and surrounded with hundreds of vessels of ice-cold Ganga water. That's the analogy given here. We know how it is if you're, it's super hot and you really are thirsty. It's so relieving to get some water. So that's one. As I said, it's meager example. It's not really matches the actual experience, but yeah. And another one is, an elephant caught in a forest fire for a long time is finally bathed by unlimited streams of water from a thick bank of rain clouds. Didn't found an elephant under rain clouds. Yeah. But yeah, you got the idea, right? And of course we know Sangsara Dava Natalila Loka. We are actually that elephant in a sense that we are in a forest fire of Sangsara, the repeated birth and death, and we are suffering in this repeated birth and disease, old age and death. Finally we find relief, and because the true liberation is if we find shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna, and if we develop that love and our relationship with Krishna. Anything else is not true liberation. So if we attain Krishna, it's such a relief. A person plagued by hundreds of mortal diseases and burning with thirst by a chance drinks exquisitely sweet nectar. The incredible happiness that each of these three feels gives only a tiny glimpse of the unbounded bliss felt by the devotee in Prema. So these are some attempts to describe. Okay. Beautiful Krishna. As next comes a very astonishing description of what happens when a devotee actually has darshan and sees the Lord. And let's read it and go through it. And that's also basically concludes the description in the Madhurya Kadambini. So let's see, maybe we're... The Lord first reveals his beauty, Saundarya, to the eyes of the utterly astonished devotee. The sweetness of his beauty makes all the senses and the mind become like eyes to see the Lord. The resulting symptoms of ecstatic love, such as tears, shivering, and being stunned, causes the devotee to swoon in ecstasy. Swoon means like faint, fall unconscious. So basically, the first thing, or the first senses which come in touch with Krishna when we have the first darshan, it will be through the eyes. We will be able to see the beautiful form of Krishna. And then we become so amazed by the beauty of the form of Krishna that basically all our senses become like eyes, and we just want to, with our eyes, we drink the nectar of Krishna's beauty through the eyes. And this experience must be so amazing that, we just faint. The devotee just falls unconscious. So what is Krishna doing? To revive him, because the devotee has fallen unconscious, So to revive him, the Lord next reveals his fragrance, Saurabhya, to the nostrils of his devotee, and all the devotee's senses and mind take on the quality of the nose to smell. So the devotee again comes to consciousness and then just smells that amazing smell. Sometimes it's described, the smell of Krishna is what is the description? Musk and saffron mixture or something. There's different, camphor also. Yeah, there's different, fragrances that are described, which kind of give an idea how an amazing, beautifully Krishna's smell is, fragrance. So the devotee smells and just wants to smell. And what happens when the devotee, gets an experience of this fragrance? Again, swoons, again falls unconscious because of ecstasy. As the devotee starts to swoon a second time, the Lord says, "O my devotee, I am fully under your control. Please don't be disturbed. Just realize me to your full satisfaction." The Lord thus discloses his pleasing voice, Sausvarya, to the ear of his devotee, and as before, all the senses become like ears to hear. The devotee, oh my God, here's the voice of Krishna. How beautiful must be the voice of Krishna. And just want to hear Krishna's beautiful voice.
You mean that the nose wants to hear, the eyes wants to hear, the tongue wants to hear?
It seems like that's the description, yeah, like the whole, all the senses, and they just, like that specific sense becomes prominent, and the other senses want to just merge into that sense and just magnify the experience, or that's how I guess so. And then, as his devotees swoons a third time, again, falling unconscious, hearing that voice, the Lord mercifully gives him a touch of his lotus feet, hand or breast, revealing his delicate softness. So, Kaum Maria, according to the different rasas of the devotees. So, according to the rasa a devotee has developed, then the touch will be differently, like feet, hand, or like breast means embrace, so different intimacy according to the closeness of rasa the devotee has developed, but the devotee will feel the touch of Krishna's body in some ways. And of course what happens? Again, the devotee falls unconscious in ecstasy. That's a dramatic meeting or exchange, again, the devotee's sense all take on the sense of touch to feel his softness. At the start of the fourth swoon, the Lord restores him by giving his fifth Madhurya, the taste of the nectar of his lips, Saurasya. But this he reveals only to those who at this time are in the mood of conjugal love and desire this, but not to others. The devotee's sense all take on the sense of taste, and he faints for a fifth time. That's the amazing description we find. This blissful swoon is so deep, the Lord can revive him only by bestowing his sixth quality, Adharya, generosity. Adharya refers to the state where all the Lord's qualities, the beauty, fragrance, sound, touch, and taste, forcefully manifest at once to his devotee's various senses. So at last, the devotee is able to hold or to kind of, tolerate, to experience all the full experience. Because it's so ecstatic, the Lord is very careful, introducing the devotee into the different different ways, and then once the devotee got a bit accustomed to the bliss, then the devotee is able to actually see the Lord in full, and with all the senses can experience Krishna. Then Prema, understanding the mind of the Lord, increases to the utmost, and with it then keen hankering of the devotee. Prema becomes like a powerful moon in the heart of the devotee. So, and with this ends this description of how the devotee has his first darshan and experience Krishna's beauty. And of course, we find such a description also in the Srimad Bhagavatamrita, where Gopkumar then finally attains that darshan, and there also we find this description how, and there also is described actually how the Lord also faints and Gopkumar faints. They both faint and they both embrace. It's a beautiful description and amazing. And this is what we are striving to attain. And how amazing, how beautiful it must be to actually have that personal association with the Lord. Thus ends the description, as far I have taken it from the Madhurya Kadambini. I just have two more additional points in regards to Prema. I found this infographic. This is from the book Bhagavat from Suttapa Prabhu. Found it quite interesting. So here it says, "Without love of Godhead, my life is useless. Therefore I pray that you accept me as your servant and give me the salary of ecstatic love of God." This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita. So the point is, a devotee feels that without this love for Krishna, then what is the use of life? That's really what I want to attain. And even Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself says that, actually I don't have love for Krishna, otherwise, I would not live anymore. How is it that I'm still alive? Such humility. And then here it says, material, spiritual. Reposing love in material objects and relationships brings frustration. As spirit souls, we yearn to experience spiritual love in relation to the spiritual soul. So that's the first step. There is spiritual material, and actually any loving relationship in the material world is very limited. The love in this world it is conditional. There is no selfless love in the world. There is Prabhupada makes a statement that the love of a mother to the child is very pure and it comes close, but still usually the mother also has some expectations, right? Like when I became a chef, my mother always wanted that I become a big star, a chef star, like those chefs who are in the magazines. And like every mother has some dreams what the child will attain. So although the mother has this very selfless love, but still some expectation is there. So love is always conditioned, it's not selfless. Then love is imperfect. We are all imperfect beings, so the loving relationship will always be imperfect, and it's temporary. So, but the relationship that we can have with God, it is unconditional, it is perfect, and it's eternal. And that's why Krishna is the ultimate, object of love. And that's where where our love should go, to the Lord. So, who is the object of spiritual love? And then, there's energy, person. So, the understanding that actually God is a person, and that loving relationship is only possible with a person. And what is the identity of the Supreme Person? Vishnu, Krishna, God at work is Vishnu, he who creates and maintains the cosmos. God at home is Krishna, the relisher of relationship. Krishna is that personality with whom we can relish that personal interaction. What is the mood of that relationship? Then there is Aishwarya, there is Madhurya. And of course we know in Vaikuntha there is this mixture of awe and reverence, and that never really gives that true love or intimate love, because there is this reverence there. So Madhurya is the most intimate one. And what is the relationship, or when is the relationship intensified? With pralamba. when there is this, okay, there is Sambhoga where there is meeting with Krishna, but then there is also separation with Krishna. And through that separation, the love becomes even more intensified. And in this way, that's the ultimate perfection of love is the spiritual love, love for Krishna, and in that mood of Vipralambha separation. And we end with a beautiful song of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Let me see, I'll find it here. This amazing song. Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes love of God. Priti Satchit Anande Rupa Vatinari Daya Dharma Adiguna Alankar Stavatari Gyanatra Pattasati Yoga Ganda Paripati Esabe Shobhita Sati Kore Krishna Manajuri. Love and affection for the nature of eternity, knowledge and bliss, or love for Krishna, is like a very beautiful woman whose ornaments are all the good qualities headed by mercifulness and religiosity. So we see here beautiful Vedic women, nice sari, and ornaments. So that's the analogy. Pure love of God is just like a very beautiful woman. And she is nicely dressed and has nice ornaments. And the ornaments are like the good qualities that she has. Then next, the divine wisdom of pure jnana is her silken sari. So the sari is compared, or the divine wisdom is compared to the sari. And the practice of the yoga of devotional service is her excellent bodily fragrance. Adored by these qualities, that beautiful and chaste woman steals away the mind of Krishna himself. Rupa vina alankare, kiba shobha e sangsare, priti vihina gune, krishnena tushte pari. Vanarira alankara, shobhana hoyatara, Krishna Prema vinatata gunena adarakori. If ornaments are worn by one completely devoid of beauty, then is such a person considered to be beautiful in this world? So if someone is actually not beautiful, then even if that person puts a lot of jewelry, will it help much? Is the question. Similarly, one possessing good qualities like mercifulness and religiosity is unable to satisfy Lord Krishna if devoid of love for him. So similarly, someone may have good qualities, it's very religious, very compassionate and wise and so on, but if that person does not have love for Krishna, will Krishna feel attracted? No. Okay, good karma, there's piety, there's blessings, but it's not that Krishna feels attracted. That which Krishna attracts is that love. And without that love, And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives a funny analogy. He says, just as there is no beauty to an ornament worn on the body of a female monkey, in the same way I do not hold in very high esteem qualities such as mercifulness and religiosity if they are devoid of love for Krishna. So even if what is the use of decorating a monkey? The monkey remains a monkey. So similarly, what is the use of all good qualities if there is not the beauty, if there is not the pure love of God? So that's how Bhaktivinoda Thakur emphasizes the importance of developing love for Krishna, because without it, our life is useless, our life is spoiled, basically. The goal of our life is to develop that love. And of course, we are very, very fortunate that we came in touch with Srila Prabhupada, who was a Prema Bhakti, a devotee with pure love of God, and who is the direct representative of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is no one else than a manifestation of pure love of God, and who is the combined form of Radha and Krishna. And through the Yuga Dharma, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We can also reawaken this pure love of God that's already there in our heart. And then one day, hopefully, we also will have this darshan of Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Krishna, and have this amazing experience of seeing the beauty of the Lord, and then for eternity serve the Lord in love and devotion. Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you very much. That was from my side. The last part of Prema. So I don't know whether there is any comments or in general about that topic of Prema or the topic in general. Yes. Yes.
I was actually wondering when you were speaking about the sequence of revelation.
Mm-hmm.
Usually we hear Nama, Guna, Rupa,
Mm-hmm.
which starts with the ear, basically the holy name. But in your sequence it started with Vishnu. An explanation?
Good question, yeah. Well, I mean, what is described here is the actual darshan, like when the soul actually meets Krishna in person. And that's, I mean, just how it's described in the book. But what you're referring to, as far as maybe my understanding, is that these stages of smaranam or remembrance or in the meditation, where the holy name starts to reveal. There's the Nam, and then Nama, Rupa, the form, the qualities, the pastimes, and then even within the pastimes, then our own Swarupa, our own identity and role in that pastime. That's how the sequence. But I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but as far as I understand, that's all part of the inner experience in our practice, in our meditation, which of course is real, and that's already when we realize our Siddha Deha. But the description that we have heard here is then once we actually have given up that body, our body, and once we return to the spiritual world, and once we actually meet Krishna first in the spiritual world, that's how I would understand. I don't know whether it's satisfying or...
No, I could also see it as when we come from Nama, Guna, when we get entry to the holy name, that in Guna and Rupa, this sequence comes what you are talking about.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
It starts from Nama, and then the further sequences are revealed in the way.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, still a long way to go, isn't it? but it's good to hear about. It's good to know that that's there. And yeah. Yes, please.
I heard. I've heard that one cannot experience prema as long as you're in this material body.
That's
or
interesting.
You can go only to the platform of lava. Is this?
Interesting point also. I mean, there is this example of like we have a how we say Glühbirne, a bulb, and each bulb there is written 40 volt or 60 volt, certain capacity to hold electricity. And if there's too strong electrical, power coming, then the bulb, the lamp will break. So similarly, it says if one is still in such a body. Of course, we understand a very highly advanced devotee. It's described how the body actually becomes spiritualized. But still, sometimes it says that when that love becomes so intense, just can't keep the body anymore. It's just too limited. You just have to kind of break out. That's one description that I heard, that which would confirm this, but I don't know. I mean, yeah.
It's a nice way to leave the body.
yeah, nice way to leave the body. Just too much bhava, too much prema is manifesting, and you just can't maintain the body. It's finally have to get the spiritual body. It's the spiritual body is just enough is enough. Yeah, a nice way to leave the body. A very glorious way to leave the body. Yeah. And yeah, I guess, personalities like Srila Prabhupada just kind of tolerated to be in a material body and just kind of out of compassion, lived and acted in this world. Although actually inside feeling so much separation to Krishna and feeling so much love. Yes?
Are there instances in our scriptures that somebody is there, then goes out of the body is maintained for a meantime, and then comes back and continues with his
You're asking whether examples of someone in the material
here and then suddenly
poof and coming back. I mean,
yes, like that.
I mean, boof. I don't know about boof, but
I'm describing.
Yeah. I mean, we do know that. I mean, these actually pure devotees of the Lord, those who actually directly come from the spiritual world, like Srila Prabhupada, like the Goswamis, that there is a sadhaka deha, the body deha, the body of the sadhaka, which externally they perform their devotional activities, and like in Rupa Goswami, okay, he acts as Rupa Goswami, as these great Vaishnava who writes scriptures. That's his sadhaka deha, but he is a perfected eternal nitya siddha, so he also has access to his siddha deha, to his original identity as Rupa Manjari. There are descriptions in scriptures how when such pure devotees, when they actually absorb in the holy name, then they are actually they're participating in the pastimes. And Prabhupada says that, Prabhupada gives the example of a television in the heart, that once you're on that level, you can see the pastimes of Radha and Krishna just as we watch TV, we don't watch TV, maybe. But as you can see a movie, you just can witness, and even more, it's three-dimensional or whatever, you actually participate. And there are stories how, for example, Rupa Goswami at the bank of Radha Kund is meditating, and then how he experiences pastimes of Radha and Krishna, how the manjaris they decorate and the hairs of Radharani, and then they give the mirror to Radharani, and then in the mirror Radharani in the background sees the moon-like face of Krishna, and then she becomes very shy and covers her hair, and all the manjaris laugh. And then Rupa Goswami is also laughing in his, and there's a story, in regard to Vaishnava Prad actually, and then one sadhu who is kind of, how you can say, lame, he's just walking close to Rupa Goswami, and when he approaches Rupa Goswami starts to laugh, and he thinks that he's laughing because of him, because it looks so funny the way he walks, and he feels hurt, and he leaves. And in this way Rupa Goswami commits an Vaishnava aparad unknowingly, and his vision is finished. And he's wondering what happened, I must have committed some offense. That story is given, but from the story we can see that in his consciousness Rupa Goswami is actually participating in the pastimes, but then with his sadhakadeya still he was laughing and then he came back, and so that's there, but of course it's a very high level. That's
I was wondering, thank you first of all for this seminar. I was trying to follow everything and absorb as much as I could, and I noticed there are a few things that stuck, especially regarding the symptoms of which different level. And sometimes during the day, suddenly I remember and I feel, oh, but these symptoms will be in that level, so better I act in that way to be closer to this level. Something like this. Oh yeah, sense control is there in Ruchi now, better I should be sense control. Even I'm not in. And I was wondering if it's maybe a little bit the idea of such stages, that when you hear about them, you get some enthusiasm of trying to follow, even though you are not at the level, but you try to follow or emulate the symptoms of that level.
Yeah, I would certainly say yes. In a sense, as we mentioned in the beginning, like this book or these insights that Srila Vishnavacharya Thakur is sharing with us is like a roadmap, which gives us quite a detailed description of the path, and it helps us to understand where we stand and what we have already achieved and where we are still working on, and then also what is ahead of us. And that kind of, I found it super helpful. I know, okay, if I really endeavor and if I take shelter and with some mercy, maybe at some point I can get out of this anishtita bhajana kriya, this unsteady, and hopefully one day I become, attain that plateau of nishta where I will be more fixed and steady. And then I already know what comes next, and it gives me certain, for me, when I personally studied it, and I've got a lot of inspiration from it. Like, okay, let's become more serious. That's what I said in the beginning. There is the sadhaka, the sadhana, and there is the sadhya, the goal. And it's so important to have a clear understanding what's the goal. Otherwise we may lose enthusiasm and lose, our determination. Why do we do what we do? But if you always have the goal in mind, you know exactly what you want to achieve. That creates some energy and determination to actually attain that goal. And that's a very important thing. That's why it's important to hear also about these higher topics, to understand where we want to go. And of course, we shouldn't prematurely go too much into these higher topics, but it's important to hear about them to get that determination and desire to attain. Prabhupada gives the example, if you hear about Hawaii, how beautiful it is in Hawaii, you've never been to Hawaii, but you hear about it, then you develop a desire, I want to go there, it's so nice. So similarly, if we hear about Goloka Vrindavan and these higher stages of devotion, the more we hear, the more we develop a desire to go there. And that desire gives us then a certain energy or power of determination to reach. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like to thank very much, especially to you, Gorari Prabhu, also for the invitation and for the possibility that I was able to share whatever I collected. I'm just a collector, collecting from the great acharyas and just repeating. And it was a very nice experience. I gave the course before in Zurich. If I may say, the audience there was more maybe newer devotees, and they were also very much appreciative, because that's the beauty of this book. It's very nice for new devotees, for advanced in very advanced devotees. Somehow for everyone there is something. But I very much relished the discussion that we had, and because obviously this audience, there's very mature devotees and advanced devotees, so I felt there was more. So I learned a lot, actually, also from the inputs and comments. It was a very nice exchange. So thank you very much for that. Srila Vishnava Chakravarti Thakur ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu